What's your background?
Oh, definitely not in beer.
Yeah, it's double. I was like, wow, that is not craft. I mean, it probably is.
That's what they call it in South Carolina. I won't get into it. It's okay.
They do not. That's a lie.
This week, we speak with Michelle Foik of Eris Brewery and Cider House. This is episode 52 of The Malting Hour.
What's the haps on the hops? Got yeast, that's bees. This the Malting Hour where we talk about our drink and tell you what we think every other week. And if we get drunk, well, we might slur our speech. Got the gift of gab, the friends you wish you had. Join us for a drink, join us for a laugh. Time is never wasted, where you getting wasted. The Malting Hour here, people take your places. People take your places. People take your home.
Everybody gather around. Take your places, sit down, unless you're doing something in your house, and that's when you listen to this podcast. Who's really listening to this podcast doing stuff around their house? If you are, thank you. That means we've become a part of your everyday life, as much as I have included podcasts in my everyday life. This is episode 52 of The Malting Hour. I am Tony Golick, joined always with
Brandon Winninger.
And making his debut after his vacation episode,
Clark Fettridge. You want me to talk more?
Nope.
Did I get everything in? No. Okay, stop.
Yeah,
okay.
Enough.
Bye, Clark. Bye, Clark.
Probably put
See you guys.
Yep. We'll probably put you on mute for the rest of the episode. It was a lot last week. It was really a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So episode 52. Welcome everybody. This is the Malting Hour. We got another. I always say it's a special episode because every episode is a special episode, but this one is a little more near and dear to our hearts because it's another very local episode. Brandon, do you want to spearhead this as you normally do with the people that you reach out with? Because, you know, I talk too much like Clark does.
I will. So I am super excited to introduce somebody that we have on this episode from Eris Brewing. We have Michelle, who is the founder and owner, one of the founders and one of the owners of
Get it right. Maybe I should do this.
of Eris Brewing. So this history goes back like far and wide. So I've known Michelle for years. Michelle at the time was, and I guess you can chime in. Like you don't have to. Be
okay, I didn't know like when I should stop.
You don't have to be on mute.
You have. Yeah, you got to give.
You don't have to be on mute. So like Michelle and I
looking through my veins right now, so I'm trying to be polite, but just wait. I mean, if you guys are talking about being way too much of a talkative crowd, I'm just like crowd.
That's Clark. That's why we mute Clark.
We also have a hard time of just throwing it over to the guests to be like, welcome.
But no. So Michelle, I mean, we have. I don't want to say we know each other intimately, but we've known each other back to the days of Fishman's. Which I'm conveniently wearing this shirt.
Throwback.
So those days, and then I remember Michelle. I remember talking to you, and you were talking about building this cidery and brewery and doing all this stuff, and I was like, "That's crazy. Where are you going to do it?" And you're like, "Somewhere in Irving Park." And holy cow, you guys are where you are now. So kind of. So my question to throw to you is like,
Brandon, you seem very excited about this. I love how much passion you have about it.
Dude.
I catch the ball here. He's like, throw it. I'm like, come on, Brandon, just throw it.
I love where they're at. I love like what they've become. And Michelle's been gracious to me in other areas, so I can get into that later. But
we make some sexually innuendos, and I'm like,
that's like the second one.
That never happened. So I don't know what's going on.
No, it's not.
Take it easy.
Hey, Michelle, tell us what you do.
Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Great.
Hey, guys.
Edit out the first 10 minutes.
So my name is Michelle Foik. That is true. I am a co-founder and owner of Eris Brewery and Cider House. I'm really excited to join you guys. I'm excited. These podcasts are some of my favorite things to do because half the time they're not centered, other times they are, and it allows us to have a chat when you're just talking about whether it's about shit, which I'm not like seriously talking about shit, but I mean, we talk about our industry, we talk about the good things, we talk about the bad things, we talk about how we started, and yeah, I enjoy doing it because I feel that by telling our story, we are empowering other people to do things that they might not want to do.
Right on.
So I love doing these because I think people look at a woman-ran business, especially in the brewery, and people are like, wow, really? And all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, it can be done. And it was done. So we're still here after 3 years during COVID and everything. So I'm excited to be on the show and answer your guys' questions.
Yeah, we've brought it up numerous times, and I've actually had some friends on Facebook post some stuff about like, did you know that women were the first brewers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's still, we've had Shalanda Afro Beer Chick on a couple of times.
Oh,
and
I love her. She's so amazing. So much fun.
She gives me a lot of shit about certain things, but other than that, she's great and we love her. Shut up.
As in saying like a woman being the first brewer out there, the reason why we're the first brewers
no.
up in the kitchen. Yeah, okay, I get it, guys. That makes sense to me. No wonder we were the first brewers. You want us to go out and hunt? No, stay in the kitchen. Well, I got to keep myself happy somehow in that kitchen.
Oh my God. It's fantastic. Man, that just threw me for a loop. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, no, we've
doing that.
Yeah, no, good. We've talked about that a few times and we brought that up with her and we did an episode on women in beer for Women's History Month. Was it last year or the year before? Right, last year, before.
It was this past year.
Yeah, right
it was
before
literally
right
at
lockdown.
The start of the pandemic.
Yeah, and we did mention you guys.
Yeah, we got some Eris beer and enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we did a collaboration with a Wisconsin company, Three Sheeps. One of our first collaborations was on Ella, and Ella was talking about the history because we worked with Liz Garvey, and we were part of the beer museum, and we did a beer that was a basic beer that would have been done by the hop growers. No, let me take that back. The women that were picking the hops in Wisconsin during the 1800s or 1600s, whatever it was, they were the hop pickers. And during that time when war was going on and things were happening, they were the people that were available to be able to pick the hops. And so we did a tribute collaboration with a Wisconsin brewer and us because we were women owned.
Yeah, I think we actually talked about that beer on there, and
okay.
Go back to the notes, but I am almost 100% positive, and I'm never say that, but I do believe we brought that up because we thought that was super cool. So where does your story start as far as getting into beer and cider?
Well, my story really starts in Wisconsin. My family owned a hotel and a restaurant in Wisconsin Dells. And when I was growing up and I started drinking at the ripe age of like, go ahead, what?
So not to cut you off, but
you did.
So but I will. We were reviewing some information earlier and I was like, her Facebook page says she was born in Wisconsin Dells. And Tony said, nobody's born in Wisconsin Dells. But I'm like, it says it here, so it must be true.
Right.
Your story is about to fill all that in. That's awesome though, because I said, I'm like, no, dude, it says she's born in Wisconsin Dells.
Well, I'm not born in Wisconsin Dells. That's not what it says. It says I lived and grew up and I graduated from Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, I guess that's like your, that's where your roots are. Doesn't matter where you're born.
Let's get off the Wisconsin Dells thing.
But Wisconsin Dells, more about that's awesome. Ark.
Yeah.
Southsider growing up, like I was born on the south side of Chicago by a Midway airport to a Polish family. My mom and dad both came from Poland. They met here in Chicago. Born on the south side, and then left and moved to Wisconsin Dells when I was 8. At 8 years old, I was
okay.
That makes sense, right? Yeah. So my entire life was really in Wisconsin. I'm a Packers fan. Don't ask me to be a Bears fan.
Okay. Well, that's okay because most Bears fans don't want to be Bears fans this season. And I've already threatened to become a Packers fan this season. So it's okay.
True. My husband and I always have this argument about what flag is going to go out. And I'm like, absolutely not the Bears flag. Like I had a friend that had a Bears blanket. My cousins do also. And they throw it on me when I was cold. I'm like, absolutely not. I would stay cold before I put that blanket on.
I don't blame you right now. And now
I get it too. But
anyways, continue.
From Wisconsin Dells, and in Wisconsin, craft beer was way before everybody else. Gray's You guys remember Gray's Oatmeal Stout? Like that was the beer I drank in Madison, Wisconsin, sitting out on the Union Terrace. You know, I probably was 17, 18. I know that's not the age you're supposed to be drinking, but fake ID and the ex-boyfriend back in the day was much older. So we would have the beers and be drinking at that time. So
Everybody did it. It's fine.
right, exactly. So craft beer was something that we already looked forward to in Wisconsin. We had the Great Dane. I mean, we snuck into there. We had Gray's. We had, you know, on that end. And then first we started with imports. So there wasn't this like whole domestic thing. I mean, if we're going to drink domestic, it was like, I don't remember. I think it was like Old Milwaukee probably. In the car. If we had a Miller Lite, that meant we spent money. Like that was money we didn't have.
Did you ever go High Life?
You know what? At the time, no, because MGD was bigger to us.
Like,
I think High Life became a trend later in my life because I'm a lot older than you guys. So like
I'm pretty old. I don't.
High Life was not as big as a deal. They weren't in cans. They were, you know, maybe in bottles, but you know, for us it was MGD. That was like the thing, especially my Polish family. MGD was a draft in a bottle. You know, like how do
that
you
makes sense?
Draft in a bottle, right? So it was refreshing. It tasted great.
Those are our roots.
Yep. Tell me about it. Yes. So yeah, that's kind of like where I started out. But craft beer has always been part of my heart in Wisconsin. So when I moved to Chicago again, I went to Bedford Park and I was working with a TGI Fridays in Bedford Park.
Hey, there you go. Got to start somewhere. Got it.
Oh man, I learned everything. That's how I became so corporate, you know? That was awesome. But the minute I saw in the reader, I loved reading the reader. And I opened it up and I saw that they were looking for management at Goose Island. And I was like, whoa, that's a craft beer company. You know, it was young and bright and stuff. And so like, I was like, all right, I got to get out of TGI Fridays. I liked it. But it was busier than hell. It was in Bedford Park, which is not a bad area to be in, but it was just different. I wanted to be in the city. I wanted to be downtown. And I remember that interview. Damn, that interview. My first interview was with Greg Hall. I mean, we're not talking about corporate Goose Island at all at the time. It was the year 1999.
Woo.
And I was interviewing with Greg Hall. And my second interview was with John Hall himself.
Ooh.
That does not happen anymore.
No, not at all.
You know, like who does that? Like, you know, like it's crazy to think that way. But I got the interviews and then I got the job. So I became a manager for Clybourne and Goose Island Wrigleyville after that. So craft beer was in my heart.
Yeah.
I did it with them for 10 years. I worked within their brew pub for 6. I then moved over to sales for about a year. And then I went to marketing and finance and special events, which like totally stole my heart. So
special events I could see being something that is got to be the most fun. It's the only thing that I've ever done as far as a brewery or craft beer was concerned, was doing special events. And it's so much fun. We've talked with other guests about like that's the opportunity to really talk to the beer drinkers. I mean when you're working in a bar, that's one thing, but like at a festival or special events like that, it's a lot of fun.
So in my late 20s, 312 became my brand. And so like 312 was, you know, they like, Michelle, this is what we want you to work with. We did the 312 campaign. We did Run 312, which was, I worked with the marathon.
Cool.
I mean, I remember being there with a friend of mine called PJ Fisher. And we were in a go-kart.
Oh, yeah.
You know PJ, Brian.
I know PJ.
Yeah, he works now for Bell's, in Texas. But PJ and I were in a go-kart at 2 a.m. downtown Chicago, setting up for the marathon. I can't even express to you what that rush was like. The streets were like, there was no driving on the streets. You know, Lakeshore Drive was closed down. And him and I are driving kegs of 312 all over the city there in 2, 3 a.m. We're watching the sunrise. It was just, it's phenomenal to do these kind of like really cool events. So yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That one was fun. And Pitchfork. I did 3 years or 4 years with Pitchfork because my 4th year was with Virtue. So I had the opportunity to go back and work with Pitchfork. But my first year at Pitchfork blew my mind. I was like, this is what 312 Tunes is all about. We're about the music scene. I got to be on stage. It was just so cool. I met like Lou Barlow. I got to hold his child because I was crying. He's like, "Can you hold her for a second?" I said, "Yes."
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh my
nobody
God.
in the world would remember me, but I remember all of that,
Yeah.
So yeah. So special events were definitely the gig, and that's how I got into craft beer. And then after that, Josh Deef. So working for Revolution. My first day into Goose Island was Josh's last day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I walked into Goose. It was my training day. Josh was finishing up his brew. We had a beer, and he's like, "Well, good luck with this company. I'm out of here. I'm going to open up my own brewery." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Cool." And Maddie Kemp was there, and I also had the privilege to work with Jim Seaback, but he just happened to be not there that day. But Maddie and Josh were, and Josh was like, "Yeah." He's like, "See you later," and that was it. That was the one and only time I met Josh Deef until 10 years later.
Wow.
When he asked me to interview with him for his job at Revolution, because he's finally opening up that brewery.
Did he remember, like he remembered you specifically from when you were there, or did he just?
I think Maddie and Jim Seaback helped him out a little bit, but he
Okay.
might have. I mean, I don't know. Like, Josh and I, we go way back.
Say, hell of a first impression.
like,
Yeah. Hey, let's have a beer. By the way, I'm opening up a brewery. Call me one day. 10 years.
Yeah, I'm opening a brewery 10 years later. I'm
Holy
like,
shit.
what?
That's crazy.
So yeah, so I opened up Revolution with him, and I was there for 3 years. So we opened up the brew pump, and
Nice.
then I opened up the sales, and then we both were, well, I mean, it's all Josh, but we were working on the design of the big brewery, and I left a month before they opened it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and then back to Virtue. I got
There
involved
you
in
go.
cider. So I went to see Greg, and I worked with Craig. So, and Virtue is what brought me to Eris, honestly, because I love cider. I think cider is innovating. I think cider is clean. The idea that it only takes apples and yeast and maybe some sulfur, like some sulfites and things like that. But like, in all honesty, you're not putting too much into it. You're not boiling it. You're not cooking it. The things that are left over from the apples go to the pigs or go to the ground. Yeah. And I swear to you, when I started drinking cider, those hangovers were not around as much.
Yeah.
My stomach went from being round and bulky to like back to my nice little fitness. Oh my God, this is cider? Like, what was I doing? Made a mistake before.
Did you?
Yeah.
So, would you say that your venture into at Virtue, your venture into Virtue, is that where you really got into cider, like actually drinking it yourself and like enjoying it, or was there a time before that as well that you were like, oh hey, I actually really do like cider. Maybe this is something I really enjoy.
I had the privilege of being 19 years old and going to school in Scotland. So I did a 3-month semester in Scotland.
Right on.
And I fell in love with cider out there. Cider out there is nothing like cider is here in the United States. Cider is not in regards to a woman's drink. It's not in regards to a man's drink. It is, everyone drinks it.
No.
You're not being ridiculed. You're not being thought of. You're not being like second guessed about what you're drinking, Rugby players were drinking it, it's just, in soccer fans and or football fans, and it was for the same reasons why we sometimes switch to a cider now, like, oh, I don't want to have another beer, or they were doing blends. So I drank snake bites. I drank black velvets,
Black velvet. That was the first blend I ever had. Yeah.
So that really helped. I liked Strongbow at the time. I know they changed the recipe, but Strongbow was a big one. Magners is great. And then you had like Bulmers, and we tried to find some craft ciders, but they really weren't out there at the time, because even at that time we were looking at what are the smaller locations and what did they have. But yeah, I loved it. When I worked at Goose, we had 2 different types of ciders, and we had the Vermont cider. So woodchuck. We always had the amber. Yeah, even in our bottle cabinet, we had that there at Goose, because it was just an alternative beverage, and some people knew about it. Like, anytime we had people that were traveling from Europe, they knew what cider was, and they couldn't find it very many places.
I feel like the first Woodchuck might have been the one that like I tried. Of course, Strongbow, but like Woodchuck maybe is like, oh, what's this? And I remember a friend of mine having it, and I tried it, and I thought it was pretty good. But I remember Angry Orchard was probably the first like time that I specifically went out and bought cider for myself.
Yeah.
That's where it started for me. And even at then, I didn't really get into cider. And this is not like a smoke blowing up your ass type of situation, 100%. Because when I heard that you guys were opening, I was like a cidery and a brewery, and I was like 4 or 5 years into home brewing, and I was like, cider, okay, well, it's cool. They're making cider. I'll try it. You guys were the first place that I found out that I do like cider. I do like hard cider, and it got me to make my own. I did Brandon and I have done some very simple batches of like take 100% apple juice, pitch your yeast, see you in a month, and that's it, and doing other stuff like that. But Eris was the first place that finally got me like, well, shit, cider can be more than just like you said, just here's apple juice and yeast and some sulfur, and that's it. And actually, what I'm drinking right now was one of the first ones. And when I told my wife we were doing this, she said, you got to go. That's her favorite. And it inspired me to make my own. I actually have made a tart cherry cider at one point, not as dry. Mine was a little sweeter, but I love Blush, and my wife loves Blush. So that is what I am drinking tonight. But that was I remember the first time going there and doing a couple of tasters, and Blush being the one that really stood out for me that I absolutely love. So thank you for making cider for me something that I absolutely do enjoy and do appreciate, because you're right. It is looked differently here in the United States. It's not seen. Even when I tell people, I'm like, oh, a hard cider, and they're like, I'll just drink beer. Like, okay, well, you're missing out. It's like, fine, if you don't drink it, you don't drink it. But
yeah, I can't tell you how many times at the pub we've had people, let's get past everything that's happened in the last year, but before, when we first opened up in 2018, there were people, and there probably still are people now to this day, that think that cider is a woman's drink, and we had one guest at the bar, was like, our bartender came up to him and she's like, hey, would you like to try a cider? And he's like, that's a woman's drink. And it was like one of those situations where I'm like, okay.
Is he 72 by any chance? 72 and like,
yeah, no,
Martha, get over here.
It was such a like, I went over to the guest because I was like, challenge accepted. F that, I'm going over there. So, because my bartender can't do it because she has to be nice to everybody. So, I went over there and I'm just like, so would you like to try some cider? He's like, no, actually I don't. I'm like, you know what? I'm one of the owners and I know you like our beer and I think our beer is fantastic too, but can I just introduce you in it? And I'm like, why do you not like cider? And, well, I don't really know it. It seems more of a girly drink, I don't, I'm a beer guy. Like, that's just what I like. I'm like, what do you like about your beers? And he's telling me about the hops and this and that. And I'm like, you don't have to like our cider, but I'd really like you to try this one because we use Mosaic hops. Like, it's not an IPA. It's definitely a cider. It's made with blueberries, it's made with Mosaic and apples. I go, but that is the one game changer that we do here is that, something I learned from Virtue is that you can still have innovative ciders that are different and or similar to a beer method. Yeah. So hopping your cider is a great way of doing it. And the guy did try all the ciders and he did enjoy 2 of them out of all of them. He still told me he wouldn't buy a full glass. And I'm like, that's okay. I go, but I want you to understand like why I even came over and like explain to you that like, cider is not as bad as you think. He's like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought. And that's all I need,
Sure.
And that happens not anymore. I would say in the last year, I hardly have anyone ever coming into our place now. But I also think that was like when we first opened, it was that people were expecting us to be a restaurant, not even a brewery or a cider house or anything. Yeah. They didn't care. They just wanted a restaurant.
Yep. Which you guys also excel at, by the way. We haven't even gotten to that. The food is fantastic. So the one you were talking about, which I think Brandon was holding up, Brandon and Clark, I think are both drinking that. Is that Van Mojo?
Van Mojo. Yeah.
So the first time I tried that, you won't remember this, Michelle, but I met you. I met you once, real quick. It was at the Navy Pier Cider Summit, and I had a chance I tried that there. and I had said something like, "Oh my God, I absolutely love this. This is so good. It smells like beer. Like it's one of my favorite ciders here." And you were like, "That's great. Be sure to try everybody else's." And like you were so, like, but you were like you were like a jerk about it, but you were like, "Thank you very much. There's so much cider here." It was almost like, "Yeah, you're right. You're in my neighborhood. Why am I? I need to go. I need to go find." And I did. No, it wasn't. I didn't take it, but it was very funny. It stood out in my mind where I was like, "Yeah, she's right. I gotta go fight." But I loved it. I love the fact like it smells like, I mean, it smells like mosaic hops. It's so awesome. I really love it, the way it smells, and it tastes like cider. It's a really cool idea. And I gotta be honest, I've thought about it a couple of times. Like, do I just do a cider that I dry hop like Eris did?
You can.
Do it.
know, but I'm nervous.
Oh, you should try it anyway, because I'm curious about the cherry. I'm so excited to hear about how you made cherry, like whether you took cherry juice and fermented that, like was it in the first fermentation? Was it back sweetening? What did you do with that cherry?
Mm-hmm. So the first time I did it, I actually had 2 pounds of Michigan tart cherries that I had frozen. It was crazy for like maybe 4 or 5 years, where it was at the point, yeah, exactly. Like they were just in my freezer, and I'm like, I got to do something with it. I got to do something with this. This is such a waste. I'm like, gonna give it a shot. Here we go. Clark, what are you about to say?
This is on the one you just did a couple months ago?
No. This was last year's.
Oh, okay.
This was last year's, during the pandemic. So I made my cider. I let the cherries thaw, and I added it to there. But I also took, I have to look back at the recipe, but I did take some after. So it was after fermentation. Okay. Then I took tart cherry juice concentrate and added that on top of the cherries, then racked the cider on top of that and let it sit for another week or 2 until I didn't notice.
You had the juice, you had the cherries, the actual frozen cherries that thawed with their juice.
Yes.
And then you added a tart juice to it.
Yes.
And then you put the apple cider on top of it?
On top of it. And then let it sit for
right.
another.
So the alcoholic cider that was already your base. Your base
Yes,
was on top of it.
Correct. And it
right.
that was my neighbors next door. They like I'm exposing them to different beers as well, and they love sour beers and ciders. And so when I had that, I ended up filling like I think multiple growlers for them of it. Like it was one of my favorite ciders that I did. I absolutely loved it. And I will never be able to get those cherries again because the guy who gave me the cherries was so mad at me for never doing anything with it. And then when I finally did it, I didn't get him the cider.
You're kidding me. 5 years later and you still didn't get the cider?
Rude.
It's a long story. Okay. Look, I'm not out of, trust me. Okay. This is for off mic conversation. Of
all right.
But it was a lot of fun to do, and I haven't done anything else. I have taken equal parts tart cherry juice and which was very expensive, and equal parts apple juice, dumped it into a bucket and let it sour with I kettle soured it basically. So that one ended up being very good. That one was called Beaver Cat. It's a nickname we gave my cat for some reason. My wife came up with that, but it ended up being another very good cherry cider. So as I said, Blush has left a lasting impression with me for what I need cider to be.
Yeah, apparently that's amazing.
I've never done a regular cider. It's always been cherry. So
that's good. That's the fun part about making cider. Thank you. That's the fun part about making cider is to be able to have fun with it. It's funny that you brought up the Navy Pier incidents by me telling you to go and check out the ciders. And I can't explain enough how sometimes when we own our own businesses, we just think our shit doesn't stink, and there are so many other people that are making ciders that are so different. And we are never going to develop our palates until we try other people's stuff, and I know that I meant that in a good way when I met you and I talked to you about it, but I'm glad that it resonated in your brain because I truly believe a community is people helping each other out, and we may not want to talk about our recipes,
Sure.
and we may not want to talk about how we methodically do things, but for people in the general public, the more cider you drink, the more you're going to know and the more you're going to like the thing, I just want people to try cider because at this point in time, we're talking off-premise sales. Let's go into some technical stuff with sales. And I'm going to some of these places and they're telling me that, well, cider, we're gonna like bring down the aisle. You're no longer gonna have an aisle of cider. We're gonna bring it down to half because seltzers are taking over, and there's more breweries and there's more mixed drinks. So like,
I know of a place where I saw that. Yeah, a place recently I just went to get this. I did that. Now that you're saying that, I'm picturing the aisle. And I'm like, oh, that's right. The end of that aisle is now non-alcoholic and hard seltzers.
Yeah, and so like, I don't want to lose our category. Our category came out really high, and then we went down a little bit. You know, like, I still think that our product is great, and there's only 4 cideries in the vicinity of Illinois, Chicagoland proper. So with us being the 4, we still have market stature, I hope, you know, but you have great cideries from Michigan and, you know, Vandermill, Uncle John's, Tandem, you know, like all those guys. And then anybody else from all around too. Like, Chicago was a booming mecca for cider, and recently it has slowed down, and we're seeing people fall off. We're seeing other cider companies not wanting to sell in our neighborhood. You know, and people would be like, "Oh, Michelle, that's great for you, right?" I'm like, "Not really.
You need competition needs to be there."
Yeah, you need competition. So, you know, I'm happy that we're doing as well as we are, and we're being around the neighborhoods and everything. But the competition needs to be there because everyone's got to like. We don't all like the same IPA.
Yeah,
and
that's
what
true.
is an IPA anymore? Is it a hazy? Is it a New England? Is it a, you know,
Brute? That's gone. Later, Brute.
Don't
IPAs.
ask us. We'll go
We
on
made a
for
brew.
too
Yeah.
long.
I know you guys did, and I was like, "Come on!" No, I'm just joking.
So
There's milkshake
just to-
IPAs. Ugh.
Yeah. So to kind of like bring it back, so all of, you know, everything has happened to bring you where you are today.
Mhm.
And my big question is like, so the building you're in a old Masonic temple.
He's been waiting to ask this question.
Yes,
He prompted
no, I know
us.
I have.
He prompted us before you jumped on. Like, you guys, I have to ask this question.
No, I didn't. But like, you're in this old temple, and there is just a ton of work that had to be done to like clear it out and get it ready for, you know, a brewery.
And cider
Like,
house.
so there's 2 questions, like, why this place, and then after this place, like, what was your vision to continue forward?
So, okay. First of all, why this place? So Katie's husband, my co-partner, her husband, Nunzino Pizza, he was the guy that started this whole like journey. So Nuns was like, Michelle, let's look at locations. And I was still working for Virtue, and I was happy, and I was like, yeah, okay. He's like, no, really, I think we should look at opening up a brew pub. And we looked around. He sent me some listings, but I never really took him seriously. And the first listing that came up that looked like the Masonic Temple was a mistake. It was our real estate agent was like, hey, I know you guys are looking for a large space. He said like 12,000 square feet. We said, you know, in a neighborhood, if we could, you know, and Adam came up with this space, and he's like, it's under industrial. We were looking at commercial. He's like, but I think it'd be great. But then he's like, but don't turn the phone call off when I say 24,000 square feet. I'm like, excuse me? Like, that's double, like double than what we want, right? He's like, no, Michelle, I know, but it's on Irving Park Road.
Wait.
And it's got a parking lot and, you know, all these things. And we're like, all right. And literally we walked around 2 buildings before we saw the Masonic Temple. We didn't go in those buildings. We walked around them because we didn't have a chance to get inside yet. And we got to the Irving Park location, the Masonic Temple, and my mouth just dropped. We walked in, it was a Korean church. We saw the area where the mass was being taken place. We saw the basketball court upstairs, the rooftop. I mean, literally, I felt so at home there with the idea of opening up a brew pub. Like, even when I bought my condo, I didn't have that feeling. That condo I bought, you know, when people talk about their houses and they walk in.
Yeah.
No, I honestly told people that does not exist. Even though I bought my condo and everything, I'm like, that feeling does not exist. I call bullshit to anyone that says they walk into the house of their dreams. Oh, was I not supposed to swear?
No, it's cool.
No,
It's
you can
cool.
swear.
Yeah. No, I swear. No, it's talking about my house. That's the way I felt about mine. You can fucking swear all the shit you want.
Tony, hold on.
But I was trying to
Sorry, Clark. Sorry.
what I was trying to say is that I walked into this building that was going to be our business, and that's where I'm like, oh, it does exist. That feeling is there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we didn't look at another building after that at all. Like
That's
we didn't. We took us 2 years to actually get that one under contract, but that was the building we decided we're going to do the business plan around, our budgets around, everything. We started that plan in 2014, and we finally bought the building in 2015.
Yeah, it is such a. It really is a beautiful spot. If I had the opportunity to do what you did, if I walked in there too, I'd be like, oof, how can we say?
How much you want to give
no?
me?
Yeah,
How much you wanna give me?
absolutely not. But at that time, when I, say I was in your shoes, I would. It'd be hard pressed to pass on that. It's so beautiful. It's so unique. It's. I really wish, these were different times where we could have done this there with you guys to be able to take a look around. But we'll when times change, we'll come back around and maybe we'll drink some ciders there, which is great. Which I'm planning on doing this Saturday. No.
Yeah, the building's got 20-foot ceilings. It had everything we wanted. We have a special events room up on top. That we didn't actually end up converting. We didn't do it yet because COVID happened. But it's definitely something that we're looking forward to doing in the future because it's there. Like every aspect of everything I've ever wanted was there. And I kind of modeled it off the idea of what Revolution's pub looked like too, because like the pub and then the extra space for parties. But
oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Sure.
Because parties is a big deal. And when you have a parking lot, which we did have, which we no longer are going to have, I think is a big deal because it's one of those things where we just saw every space and expansion in that building. So it was the one.
Yeah. The one time that I got to go upstairs was actually for Brandon, your son's baptism party that we got up there. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. A lot of good food. That's all I remember. Sorry. Wasn't drinking a whole lot that day. I had like 2 ciders and had to go. One question Brandon didn't ask, since you're in that building, is it haunted at all? That was the question he posed to us that we had to ask. Since you've moved in, is there any hauntings at all?
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, being myself in that building at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, I don't believe it's haunted.
Okay.
But if you were to ask my GM Wendy and ask my bartender Heather and other people in the building, they will hands down tell you it's haunted. They will tell you in early August, there is a shadow that happens to walk across that mezzanine. So that mezzanine was it was the offices for the Masons. And so like the president's office all the way across, then down the staircases, because the mezzanine did have a staircase. So staircases on both ends. We shut the one staircase off and only have the one staircase inside now. And so they swear they see a shadow that walks back and forth like he's trapped on the mezzanine.
I was just going to say, because you trapped them, you've stopped them. Oh, spooky cider rave. Sounds like we've got a new theme for Halloween.
Isn't that crazy? But they think that they actually see the shadow in August. It's not like every month they see it. They swear to me that it's in August.
Clark, I'm going to need you to go and look up what happened in that building in August, any time of the year. You can focus on that for the rest of the episode.
I'm working on it, but I'm wondering when Shadow Walkers, the new cider's coming out.
Absolutely.
Oh, the August Shadow Walker cider. That sounds
it comes out every August. Yeah, perfect.
Ooh. And write that thing down.
Mm-hmm.
Just can we make this our first like podcast collaboration with the Cider Brewery? We'll come in. We'll help you make it. Sounds fun. That sounds awesome.
It has to be a dark colored cider. Let's do like blackberry or something.
Ooh, yeah. Perfect. Now we're talking.
We made a glittered cider. We made a black glitter cider for a hot minute for one of our
events.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Speaking of, it's funny. So just as we Brandon, I was going back and forth. We were trying to, set this up. There's been some time, especially it was right before COVID.
Yeah.
Then we were full-fledged COVID. And so to me, it's very funny this is happening now because Michelle, my daughter, just started working at Eris 2 weeks ago.
Your daughter?
She's a food runner right now because she's only 20, so she can't serve yet.
What's your daughter's name?
Her name's Mackenzie.
Get out.
That's my kid.
Yep.
That's my kid.
No
So I told her tonight, I was like, by the way, I'm talking to your big boss.
We planned
tonight.
this
So
Yeah.
Are you
appropriate.
serious?
yeah.
I'm so excited.
That's funny. So that's very funny. I told her tonight, I'm like, I'm going to let her know during the show, just so you know, Mackenzie. Because I'm always saying, I said I was going to say terrible things, but she's a good kid.
The big reveal.
I'm gonna hurt somebody. Wendy, I gotta know why I did not know about this.
She loves it. She loves it, by the way. She's
Great.
yeah. Well, her previous experience was at Fanny. So,
Yeah.
there you go. Moving
No,
on there.
man, that's awesome. I'm so excited. We've had the best, we have the best team right now at Eris. Trying to find employees right now is the hardest thing in the world. So for anybody that has any operations whatsoever, because anyone that was in a stressful job before COVID had the year off, and it's like, I am never going back to that again.
Why would you? Why would you? It's absolutely insane. Other than you need to make money. And speaking of, your staff we've been there, we've always had a great time there. It's always been very nice. And you guys have had the, I don't want to say luxury. It's more of adapting to being able to have seats outside,
Yes.
which not every place gets to have that. There are some brew pubs that get to have it. But you guys were able to do that. Was it easy to do that, to be able to like, okay, shit, we need people. We need people to come in.
Yeah.
This makes sense. Let's have outside dining. And was it just kind of like, well, shit, we're going to do it and that's it? And did it work well when it first came together?
Yeah. So we had the patio already, but what happened was during COVID, we all know that we couldn't serve inside.
Right.
They shut us down inside until like we opened the doors, and then they shut us down, and they shut us down again in November. So our patio, we had the parking lot, 17 spots in the parking lot. We've already had one hit and run in the parking lot, like things like that. Like to us, it was like, let's extend the patio tables outside. And Wendy is our GM, Wendy Cabo, and she's our GM, and she used to work over at Big Star as a GM there.
Oh, there you go.
And she understands the patio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was like, you know what I'm saying? Like Big Star and their patio. So Wendy took it all outside, and we were able to get 96 seats outside, which helped us out tremendously because we can't even get 50 seats inside,
Wow.
according to the mandates. And our staff and our beliefs too were very like, we have to be COVID friendly or COVID safe, because the staff didn't want to come back. We had to be careful. We didn't want to have to shut down. We wanted to make sure that we're following the temperature controls. We're making sure that everyone's cleaning and changing things. So for us, it wasn't like everything had to be right. 6 feet across, gloves, sanitizer, everything, and taking temperatures and stuff. So luckily the outdoor garden, like that patio, we're like, see you later, parking lot. We're putting it all out there. And we couldn't even go as far all the way to the fence, let's say, because we didn't have the staff. We didn't have the seats. And it's super hard to manage 80-degree weather with staff that's not able to cool down while they're running around. COVID brought so many more eye-opening experiences for us that I don't ever want to see COVID again. But
Yeah.
I will
sure.
take the lessons I've learned, and I will definitely use them forward.
Thanks for the lessons. Don't need to relearn them.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things. But that patio's gone. The parking lot's gone. I think that's the future. We won an award with the Reader. We won the best al fresco dining. So
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
why would we want the parking lot back? Screw
Yeah.
the park.
And I gotta be honest,
You're parking on Irving Park.
I didn't like parking in that lot. I'm gonna be honest. If there's one negative thing I'm gonna say, I didn't like parking in your lot. Okay, there. I said it.
No.
I'm on record saying it. I love everything but your parking lot, and I'm glad it's changing. There.
Thank you very much. I will take that because those spots were so damn close to each other. Like I said, we had a hit and run because somebody backed up too close to another car.
Shit, gotta go.
Open the door,
Oh, man.
ding. Open another door, ding. It's like, okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
But they were city code correct. So just FYI.
And that's all that matters. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So other than the ciders, we've obviously spent a lot of time on the ciders. You guys do make beer. And in fact,
Yes.
you guys have won awards for your beers.
We have. So previously we won a bronze medal for our hazy beer, our Foik and Haze. Yeah, I know, right?
What year was that again?
Jesus Christ, you're making me count here.
Because I'm pretty sure we were at the Great American Beer Fest when you guys won that, because that was the year because it was Great American Beer Fest you guys won
It'll
that,
be
right?
2018 then.
2018.
Yeah. So Brandon and I were actually there because we were like, we're here. This is the first time that we were there, and we're like, how is it that the Midwest swept
We did.
New England IPAs and hazy IPAs?
Yep.
Armis,
yeah.
OIP,
Yeah.
Eris,
Yep.
Corridor, or
That was a good
Drama.
year.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. But yeah, so your beers are equally, and I've had a number of the beers as well. The beers, I know the focus that we've talked about is the cider, but it shouldn't overshadow the beers. Like they're equally as good. How
So
did
in the last year
go
we had a new brewer, Joe Flores. He was from Lagunitas, and so Joe has really done some amazing things with our beer program. Like we're right now, he just got done brewing a double IPA, which we've never had before. So I'm really excited.
or as
Ooh.
Clark calls it an IPA double. So, but yeah, that sounds awesome.
Clark, what's your background?
Oh, definitely not in beer.
Yeah, IPA double. I was like, wow, that is not craft. I mean, it probably is.
That's what they call it in South Carolina. I won't get into it. It's okay.
They do not. That's a lie.
That's true.
I knew
You
it.
Got me.
I knew you were lying
Damn
to
it.
us. We let you get away with it in the last episode. Sorry.
Foiled the whole ruse.
We're gonna put
Damn it.
Clark back on mute, so I can please continue with this.
No, but is Joe the one I saw sitting on top of a huge tanker?
Yes,
the
that
other
was
day?
that was our juice tanker.
Awesome. And what was
So
in
Joe
that?
was the
What
head
kind of
brewer
juice?
over at Lagunitas, and he came and started working with us. And so like we have the double IPA coming. We're doing the collaboration that like Microphone and Salamalto is doing with the Things That We Don't Say IPA for
Awesome.
mental health awareness.
That's super awesome.
Yeah, I truly believe in the idea of mental health, and I know that my background is my personal life has a lot to do with mental illness. I have depression and all these different things, and people would never guess it. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that we want to do is work and collab with the guys from Hope for the Day and different organizations that talk about mental health. So, but we have two IPAs coming. We have a Marzen on tap. We have a Pale on tap. We have a Pilsner on tap. So like I think the beers are just as spot on, and they're refreshing and they're sessionable. So even though you'll see a couple of innovation things with us, doing things like we did a barrel aged triple, barrel aged stout. So we have a lot of fun with what we can do. It's a small amount. It's never going to be like, let's just hypothetically say like a Revolution barrel age program or a Goose Island barrel age program, because we don't have the space for it, but we definitely have fun when we can.
I'm glad you ran down the beers because I'm going to be there Saturday, which would be 2 days from this episode coming out. So now I know what to drink when I go.
Absolutely. The Marzen is phenomenal. They did a great job with the Marzen. It is.
That's exciting.
I love me a Marzen. So
Me
give me
too.
a water
There's
with malt on it.
Yeah, actually, I just was just telling these guys I just grabbed some from Off Color, which is their Maibach. That's really good. I love those like sweet malty lagers. It's a good time of year to drink them.
I'm a brown fan too, so like give me a brown ale. Like even at Goose back in the day, brown ale was the best one we had was a Hex Nut. But
oh yeah, I absolutely. Brown ale, and I've had this conversation with Clint from Lake Effect about how the brown ale is underrated. And
100%.
So are you guys doing a collaboration? Were you and Lake Effect doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a brown ale though, right?
No.
Why the hell why don't you guys do that? For the love of God.
Slow your roll, okay?
Sorry.
Like
I'm sorry.
Mute him, please.
No, he actually
excited.
brewed the beer and we provided the juice. So we're actually doing
Oh.
a collaboration with the cider in a sense. So we are making a completely different type of format on the beer that he's doing, that he's barrel aging. So
That's
we're
better
super
then.
excited
Never
about
mind.
it. Yeah, slow. Do you understand
Sorry.
now why
I
we
get it. I'm sorry. I'm
no
sorry.
reason, you know, come
But
on.
what I will do is message you both separately on the same email, trying to bring like two parts together. Be like, oh, Michelle. Oh, hey, Clint. It's just Tony.
Who muted you? Oh,
Thank
yeah,
goodness.
muted.
Let's move on to the
It was a
hard
little
hitting
late
stuff.
for the muting. I was saying that like we should just
Brandon, that was fun.
send out the email that says Michelle, Clint, you both like brown ales. Make it happen. Boom. Next collab.
Done.
Next time mute me while I'm yelling. Not when I have a brilliant
Yeah, when
idea.
he like blew up there was no reason for that. That was definitely a mute call.
Michelle, I blow up at least once on each episode.
At least.
That was the one. But it was for good cause. I love brown
It
ales.
was a good cause. I will give it up to brown ales. Yes.
They're very good.
Yes. So
Wow, there's awkward silence that just showed. Sorry.
where should we go from now?
I don't know, but now I got to make a little note that I don't even know what time are we in the recording, because I just realized how we're doing this is that
We're very late into the recording.
I know.
but
Okay,
do-
very late. I'll have to remember edit awkward silence after yelling.
No,
about
hear me?
brown ale. Yeah.
Am I still here?
Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry, you're
Okay,
good. You're
great.
good, Brandon.
So, nobody cares about Tony. Mark, thank you. It's funny because I don't think we got too deep into what I wanted to get into, but I do thank you, Michelle, for coming on.
We
and
talked
being a
about the
part of-
haunting building. We talked about the haunting.
Yeah,
That's-
and look, I can talk about haunted buildings the rest of my life. Like,
Ooh, side podcast coming from Brandon. The haunted building hour.
actually,
Back
maybe-
up. Hold on. Keep going.
that's a good idea. Hey, so thank you, Michelle, for coming on, for starting our new podcast, The Haunted Hour. We'll get on to that in
Shadow
a little
Walkers.
bit. But thank you for being on part of the malting hour. Are we malting or are we the malted? You never know. But anyway, thank you very much
What's
for
happening? What's happening at the ending of this episode?
yeah, this is just you
I'm
guys.
a pedestrian, so I only had the one getting into the place, but
Everybody
I
else
get
is
that.
fired. Everyone else is
Brandon
fired.
and I had a beer together earlier, and then I had another beer, and now here I am with this. This is the cider.
Everyone's
but,
fired.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you very much for joining us. Really do appreciate it.
Sorry it took so long. We should have been able to do this earlier, but yeah, with everything that happened. So like I said, I really do enjoy doing these. These are so much fun.
Well, we're happy to hear that because anybody that comes on, we're always looking forward to. I feel like when we talk with these breweries, it's always just an introductory, introduction or introductory episode. Because then next time we could be like, what do you want to talk about specifically? And like, do you have something new coming out? And that's exciting. Brandon and I were talking about that for some other breweries that we already talked to. And, hopefully we'll be able to come to Eris and talk with you. We'll have to get better mics because these mics just really suck up that background noise that we hate so much.
No worries. I'd love to bring Joe on too, because Joe, I could talk about the technical.
That would be awesome.
Much, but I've never put my hands on it, so it'd be great for Joe to get out there and talk with you guys too. I think I could talk cider better than Joe. I'm just gonna say that out loud. So challenge accepted. Joe, get your ass on this show with me.
Boom. There is the intro to the episode right there. You saying that. That's the quote. Done. Got it.
All right. You got that recorded. So
we had the whole episode recorded. Yeah, no, it would be great. It would be great to do this in person, and we'd love to have some more. Maybe we'll try some newer things that we haven't tried, some crazier stuff, but we are very grateful that you have brought us Eris and made the neighborhood that much cooler and better. And, you've given my daughter the opportunity to move out of my house soon.
I am so excited.
It's so
I am
great.
so excited about all of that. That's amazing. So.
She can't wait to leave. It's not me kicking her out, just saying. But everybody check out Eris, especially if you're in Chicago, no matter where you are, the greater Chicagoland area. What is it? Is it erisbrewing.com, eriscidery.com?
No, it's Eris Chicago.
ErisChicago.com.
So we
Do
are Eris Brewery and Cider House, FYI. And we are Eris Chicago at the handle for @Eris Chicago, then www.erischicago.com. And we're on Instagram the same way. So we kind of keep everything under Eris Chicago.
That's brilliant. I have multiple handles that I forget about. So I had to make a bumper at the end of the episode so people remember.
There's a whole TED talk about that if you want me to pass it on.
Please do. Please email
Tony
it to
needs
us.
that. Yep.
Shut up, Clark. You thought you were muted.
I am so just
Oh.
kidding, but I'm telling you, yeah, get the
No,
same
please.
goddamn handle.
Okay, sorry. Just Chicago's in one, Chicago's not in the other. Or the is in front.
V, A plus, minus, whatever.
All right, that's enough. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Michelle.
Awesome
So
talking.
good talking to you.
Brandon, I love you, man.
Love you too.
Brandon, thank you for having me, you guys. It was all nice.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
This has been The Malting Hour. Be sure to follow us on all social media by searching The Malting Hour and at themaltinghour.com. You can also follow us on social media platforms individually. Brandon can be found on Instagram as BMDub81, on Twitter, BDub81, on Untapped, BDub Drinks Beer. Tony can be found on Instagram and Untapped under Asa Phelps Chicago. On Twitter, The Asa Phelps Chicago. Clark can be found as Clarkowski on all three. Be sure to subscribe, like, and rate the show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Until next time, cheers from all of us at The Malting Hour.